is Watersong Week, and where I'm celebrating all things Watersong. And so as part of that, I had readers ask me questions, anything about the Watersong Saga, and I have gotten a lot of questions. I actually got more questions than I thought, and so, yeah, I'm excited to get through it. I want to make sure I get through them all, so I'm just gonna dive right in. So this question is one that I see a lot, and it was I got variations of any chance of a movie. Is there going to be a movie or TV show? Do you want there to be a movie or TV show? So to answer all of those questions, unfortunately, no, not at this time. There are no plans for a movie or TV show or any other adaptations of Watersong at this time. But I mean, I'm always open to the possibility of it. I think it would make a very cool TV show or movie, and I would love to see it happen. So I'm definitely in support of it happening. It's just, you know, Hollywood can be finicky, but it can change any second. So I don't say never. I think it's a fun series that a lot of readers love. So I think there's definitely potential at some point in the future, but none in the immediate future. If you would like to see a movie or TV show, the best thing that you could do is just talk about the book and build up hype, because if a studio sees that people are interested in it, they're more likely to pursue it. So if you love the Watersong series, leave reviews, tell your friends, and then maybe it'll be more likely to be a movie, but we'll see. This question is, what was your inspiration specifically when writing this series? And I did get variations of this question too, so if you ask a variation and have it, this will be my answer to where did the inspiration for the series come from? I mean, obviously it was largely inspired by Greek mythology. I was really into Greek mythology when I was a kid. Specifically, I remember there was an episode of DuckTales where they ran into the Sirens, and, you know, the Sirens almost tricked Scrooge McDuck and ate him, and they didn't eat him, but they almost did, you know, and so I've been fascinated with them since then, and I really love the idea of them being so beautiful and alluring, and also so monstrous and hideous. I wanted them to have both these things, this really strong oppositions to him, and so that was something that I really liked about it. When I was brainstorming the idea, I couldn't decide exactly how I wanted to go with the idea of sirens, because now I think contemporarily people tend to think of sirens just as being synonymous with mermaids, but historically in Greek mythology they were more of like bird people, and so I didn't know how exactly I wanted to do it. If I wanted to stick to, you know, did I want to do what readers would expect, or did I want to be more true to the mythology? And ultimately I decided to do both, and that was where the idea came from, is I wanted to satisfy both sides of it, and I wanted to see both sides of it. I liked both sides, and so yeah, I would say other inspirations for the Watersong series, I mean, outside of just like the mythology, would be lots of like 80s campy horror films. I really loved 80s horror slashers, and so I definitely incorporated my love of that. And I knew I wanted to have a lot of horror elements in this. I really love writing horror and romance. I've talked about that before. I love they're both such visceral things, and so I love combining both of them as often as I can. So this question is, do you think you'll revisit the world in any capacity, or if you explore more Greek mythology, will it be in a different world continuity? Okay, first, do I think I would revisit the world? Possibly. I definitely have. I don't think I would ever go back to telling a story about like Gemma, Harper, or Daniel or Alex. Like, I feel like I'm done with their story. In my head, I was writing Lydia in like as a Lydia and Professor Pine, like as kind of like a backdoor pilot. I love the idea of them, you know, going out and solving mysteries of the paranormal, like in a Monster of the Week kind of episodic fashion. And that's definitely something that I think I might want to do in the future. I don't know. I just haven't. I haven't yet, but it's something that I kind of like always have in the back of my mind, like maybe I'm gonna write that someday, but I don't know when, if or when, so don't, you know, get too excited. As for Greek mythology, I'm definitely going to write about more Greek mythology. I'm actually working on another series now that is based on Greek mythologies, but it's different, and it's kind of, and it's in a different universe, and so it's like completely different. It's all, it's more of a higher fantasy and stuff. It's not related at all to the Watersong series. But that's what's so cool about Greek mythology, because there's so much of it, and a lot of it contradicts each other, but a lot of it overlaps, and it's kind of all so intense, and so I think I'll definitely revisit Greek mythology again and again, because it's, you know, wonderful, and it's something that I grew up really loving and enjoying, and they have some really, really terrific mythologies. So, which is your favorite character? I would say that for sure in the Watersong Saga, Marcy is my favorite. I also I really love Daniel, and I do love Penn. I kind of, yeah, I have a soft spot for Penn, and well, Thea is great too. So I like a lot of the characters in the book, but Marcy is my favorite. Like, I just adore Marcy. How do you create Penn, Lexi, and Thea? I wanted them to be very distinct. I kind of, I felt on the trope of the blonde, the redhead, and the brunette. There's a lot of books that have like siblings, sibling sets like that in literature. But I mean, I think it makes it, because when you're just throwing like three things at them, I don't want to be like a monolith. So I wanted to make them, distinct, and so hair color is one way for me to do it. I knew I wanted one of them to be conflicted and one of them to be super enticing, but also crazy, crazy evil. I wrote Penn as like a more self-aware Patrick Bateman. I wanted her to be like a total sociopath. But also, I mean, she feels pain and bad stuff has happened to her. I mean, just because you're a sociopath doesn't mean you don't hurt. It just means you don't feel empathy for others. So I mean, yeah, she's had pain, but she's evil. But I don't know. I mean, because she's fictional, I can love her. Like, if she was real, she's a monster, and I wouldn't. But she's fictional, so I do. How and why are Harper and Gemma connected? Is it just a sisterly bond or something magically? Like they're descended from magical beings, and that's when the Sirens gravitated towards Gemma in the first place. Also, any prequels? Okay. So yeah, I mean, I do think that they have, magical connections. I think I was originally going to put into the book the great grandmother was a muse, and so that's kind of how that drew it, and they do have that. I don't remember why. I don't know why that didn't make it in the cut. I think I decided that it was too close to like a chosen one thing, so I didn't want to do it. I don't remember now why I didn't do it, but so I had originally so I'll say, yeah, that is canonical. It's not in the text, and I don't remember why I didn't put it in the text. They are like descended from one of the muses who gave up her powers the way that Bernie's wife did, Thalia. And that's also kind of why they're there. And I mean, they would say that they're connected through Natalie. That's kind of where their connection comes from, and that's why when Gemma is a siren, being a siren strengthens it and makes it more intense. Yeah, so that's where that comes from. Any prequels, and then any physical copies of Forgotten Lyrics. So that'll go in together. For prequels, there's only one prequel story, which is Forgotten Lyrics. And it's a short story that talks about how Daniel's accident, because Daniel's accident is pretty important to what happens in the Watersong Saga, but I didn't really have a place for it to put it in there, especially since Daniel doesn't really remember the accident. So the best way for me to show it to readers, I felt like, was with a little prequel story, and it also introduces you to Lydia, and talks about Aggie, and so I think it really ties in nicely with it. But anyway, since it's just a short story, there's no physical copy for it because it's too short on its own. However, it is in the paperbacks of Lullaby. So here is Forgotten Lyrics. You can see right there, and this is short. It's just that big. So that's the only prequel stuff I plan on doing. I don't think I will write anymore. I feel like I mean, I know the Sirens, I'm sure they got into so much trouble over the course of their lives, but because I've written kind of the end of their story, I don't really want to go back and do prequels, I guess. But I mean, that's one of those things where I also feel like fan fiction is a good place. If you want to explore some of those earlier stories, I absolutely encourage you to do it. I just don't think that I could write a compelling enough story to make it worthwhile to readers. Which character did you have the most fun writing? Marcy and Lydia, for sure. I loved writing Marcy and Lydia. They were so fun. Yeah. I also really loved writing Thea, because I think Thea has so many internal struggles, so I enjoyed writing her. Okay, so these two questions are going to kind of tie in together. Did you ever think of having Merman in the series? And then someone else asked, would it have been great if Daniel had been a mermaid? So I did actually toy around the idea with Daniel becoming a siren. I specifically left the wording ambiguous, and I left the door open so I could do it, because I really like debated. I don't remember exactly why I decided against it. I don't remember why. I honestly don't remember why. I can't even speculate. It's just been a while, and I've written so many books, and you make so many choices, and sometimes I just remember there was a different choice, but I don't remember why I didn't take it. I think ultimately I decided just sticking with, I wanted it to be about young women. I wanted the monsters just to be women. That was something that I originally set out to do, so I think maybe that was why I landed that way. But so I considered it, and I decided not to do it. But it's something, again, that I think would be super fun if other people explore in fan fiction, but it's not something that, I mean, I guess I didn't write it, so I'm not going to go back and change the book now, but yeah. I do think there's potential there for interesting stuff. Did you ever consider a different ending for Thea? I did. I considered multiple endings for Thea. I needed them to work for the story. I needed to feel authentic and earned. I don't know if Thea earned her redemption arc fully as part of it. And the other part is I set these rules that it was like impossible to break, and I didn't want to keep you know, giving loopholes to people just because I like them, I guess. And so I felt for the story it made the most sense, and I liked Thea, but I don't know if she'd redeemed herself for some of the stuff that she did, and I don't know. This one is, how much research did you do for these books? Have you studied mythology, or are you just interested in knowing that? I did take, the only thing that I did was like for studying is I took a Religions of the Word class at my community college, and that was really interesting and really fascinating. And because I went into, you know, I talked about Greek mythology and stuff like that. No, yeah, I've just always been super into Greek stuff. I used to, when I was a kid, I got a ton of books on Greek mythology, and I was reading about it, and I've just always been into it. That was really it came from. But I did do a lot of specific research. I usually check out books. I read both nonfiction and fiction books that are like similar to that are like topics that I want to know about, you know, like Sirens or Greek mythology, and I mean I tried to play with it and change it a little bit to make it a bit more of its own thing too. So how did you make Lexi so annoying? I don't know. I did. I don't know if I even really tried to make her like annoying. I guess I kind of did. I wanted to make her a little bit of childishly antagonistic though, so that's pretty annoying. Who do you envision when you think of Pen? So I did do a Dreamcast video. If you want to see like all of my casting choices, you can watch the Dreamcast video. But if you haven't watched it, I would love Anna Darmas or Anna Darmas, I don't know. Anyway, as Pen, I think that she would be fantastic. Oh, so I got these two questions too. The first two books were published in Brazil, and the first two books were published in audiobooks in English, and the other two books have not. I don't really know why that's happened. I sold my audio rights are bundled in with my book rights with my publisher, so I don't really have any control over that at this time. At some point I might get my rights back, and then I will be able to, but I assume they just didn't think that the first two audiobooks sold well enough to make the third and fourth one. That is what I'm assuming. But yeah, I would like them to be, if there's a possibility of it. And the same for Brazil. I don't know. Brazil has not chosen. I'm happy to have them publish them. The best thing you can do if you want to see my books in a format or someplace where they're not at, is just contact, you know, the publisher of the first two books and say you want the rest of the series. If they get demand, I think they might be able to do it. So, yeah. What was the first character created in this saga? Do you always create the main character first? Yeah, I usually create at least one of the main characters first. This one, I don't remember who was first. It was Harper or Gemma, but they were pretty close together when they came up. It was very cool. Like, I want to do sisters, so I think they were very much like a package deal, even in my head. And then it would be Harper and Gemma together, and then Pen. And then the boys came after that. Yeah, I usually do the characters first. It's usually my starting point for a story. I mean, I kind of have like some vague idea, like I know kind of like I want to write a monster story, or I want to write like something and so I'll go like with that kind of like blah. But until I get a character, it's just very, I have to have something to drive it forward. How did you come up with the character names? Some of the names were obviously based in Greek mythology, and I tried to kind of like modernize, because the Sirens names are kind of like a mouthful for like an American, well, for they're not very common names, and so I wanted to give them more common, more young American kind of names, and so that's what I did. I just really love names. I'm really into like names and trends, and so I'm always like looking at names and stuff like that. And Gemma and Harper seemed fitting. Fisher is my grandma's mother's maiden name, which is why I chose the last name, and then it's also they're on a beach, so it all just kind of fit. Put the same together is, how did you get inspired to write about mermaids, and how did you come up with a particular plot, and especially sirens as the mythical creatures for it? It was just something that I liked. I mean, I always liked Greek mythology. At the time, me and my roommate were watching like Little Mermaid a lot. I don't know, we were just kind of like having fun and watching it. And he had always loved mermaids, and I always loved mermaids. But I like writing monsters and dark things, and so pulling it into with Greek mythology and having them be kind of like monstrous mermaids sounded like a lot of fun for me. And so that's why I wrote it. All of it was inspired by Greek mythology, like how they work, how they function. Was just trying to take stuff from Greek mythology and kind of blend it together to coalesce into something that kind of makes sense and can fit in the plot of the book. So yeah. How long did it take you to finish each book? This one actually took a long time. This was actually the hardest series for me to write. If you're familiar, right? Watersong was sold in a big auction after I'd had some success self-publishing some other books, and so this one was like this huge thing that everyone was looking at. So there was like a lot of pressure, I feel like, on me to do something really good. People were like, "You're going to be the next J.K. Rowling and the next Stephanie Meyer," and I was like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I have to like try my best. I'd hope, but I didn't. I don't know. I don't know if I really wanted, that kind of success or pressure. I don't think I did, because I don't think I did follow the amount of success and pressure that I had, and it made the writing process very difficult, which is really the question. And I really struggled, and I can see the struggle now, especially with Wake, because I couldn't connect with it because I just wanted it to be perfect, and that took me so much farther away from the characters in the story. And I think there's a little bit of a disconnect. I think as the series goes on, I find my way back, and I especially really enjoyed writing Title, and so yeah, it was a very roller coaster process, I guess. And while I was writing Elegy, my grandma died, and so then I took some time off from that, so I wasn't writing, and I definitely know that like affected the writing process too. I'd say between a year and a year and a half to write them all. Yeah. This question is, am I working on anything new? Yes, I am. I'm always working on something new. I've got a couple things. One I think will be surprising, and the other one is a different Greek retelling, but that's going to be a little bit, so I'm not going to say more about that until I am confident when it's going to be out. So, but yes, I'm always working. This question is, what keeps you motivated as a writer? I work full-time and a mom and a wife, and I'm also back in school. Hard to stay focused and make time for writing. It is hard. I mean, so I honestly don't know how, people with multiple children do it. I really don't. I mean, I sometimes feel like it's difficult with, the animals and my stepson, and none of them are very difficult. But you really do have to make time. I have a schedule where I write until about 4 in the morning, and it's when everyone is asleep, and that gives me time to write, but then I'm able to sleep during the day too, so that's how it works out for me. But if I'm also working full time, and I have done that before, where I worked full time and I was writing constantly, and it's usually something has to give, and it's usually housework or social work or social life, or taking care of myself, that kind of thing. So I don't know, if it's important, you just have to make it. You just have to make time for it. I mean, that's really it's a simple answer, but it's a very difficult one. it's still hard for me, and it was hard for a long time for me to say no. I need to stay home and write. I don't know why. It just it feels silly to say I need to stay home and hang out with my imaginary friends, but yeah, sometimes you have to do that. I think from what I've heard from the working moms that I know is just that when you have a minute, you just take a minute, and you take the scraps of time that you can find, and you do as much as you can. You just have to make the time that you have count, you know, and yeah. And just remind yourself why you want to write, whatever is driving you, because you wouldn't write if you didn't want to write. So there's something there, and you just have to like go back to it, you know. It's like for me, writing is like sort of like when you get like a toothache or like a canker sore or something, and you have to keep touching it with your tongue even though it hurts. It's like that. It's like a compulsion. Like I have to keep touching at it until like it's gone, you know. Except, you know, writing isn't usually painful. Sometimes, but not usually. Which character do you most relate yourself with? I would say that Marcy is the closest, but Marcy mixed with Harper. I'm definitely way more neurotic, and there's no way I could swim at night. I would be so afraid of the monsters in there, like Gemma does. Gemma is way more brave, and also way more rash than I am. So, but yeah. This one is, would you ever write another series similar to this, like you did for the Trill? I don't think it would work as well with this, especially because of the way the story ends. I don't think that I really there's not really room for me to do it. I might write, like, could I potentially write about like mermaids or something, like, other than like some other aquatic thing like that, for sure, definitely. I don't know if I won't write about sirens again. I'll say that much. What is your favorite detail from the saga that could be considered an Easter egg? I don't know what's really an Easter egg, but I had entitled, well, in one of the books, I know that Daniel wears the Led Zeppelin Icarus t-shirt, and I had him wear that because, you know, it's Icarus. First of all, it's Greek mythology, and then he's got the wings, but then also because at the end of title, when Daniel is Gemma, and they're fighting with the sirens, and Gemma goes flying off the cliff, you know, I pictured her falling, like the Led Zeppelin Icarus thing. So yeah, I guess I don't know if that's an Easter egg or what. This question is, are these a standalone series or part of the same universe as your other books? For example, the Trill. They are standalone in that, yeah, they sort of actually technically in my head both, because I would say that Freaks, My Blood Approves, Watersong, and Trill in my mind all exist in the same universe, which is like, you know, our world, but none of the characters interact, so it doesn't count as like within the same actual universe. If that makes sense. like there've never been crossovers, but there could be crossovers is the idea, but there won't ever be crossovers. I don't know, but yeah, so no, they're standalone. None of the characters or events relate to anything in the Trill series or any of my other series. Well, I think those are all the questions. I want to thank you all, because there really were a lot of questions, and I think I answered them all. I tried to get them all. So thank you all for asking. I mean, it was really, and there were some really fun questions and stuff like that. So I was excited. I was excited for them. I've really been enjoying Watersong Week, and when I see like the way that you guys are asking questions, it's so great to see how passionate you all are about Watersong too, and I'm glad that you all love it as much as I do. I mean, there's a few more days left of Watersong Week where there's giveaways and a few other things going on, so make sure that you check out all the links to see what is up. But then on Monday, I'll be back with Freaks Week, and I'm very excited. I think it's a perfect time to do a carnival. My husband was like, why aren't you doing this in, you know, close to Halloween? I'm like, because it's like carnival, it's fair, summer. That's definitely perfect time for Freaks, so I'm very excited for that next week. But we still a few more fun things left for Watersong, and again, thank you guys so much for making this week so fun. You guys really are like the best readers, and I really appreciate it. Until next time, be kind, stay safe, and happy reading. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe.
You're one of us now.